Hello everyone and welcome to the first episode of Blowin The Cartridge, the show where I talk about the games you might have not noticed before. I am your host, Theblackautismo, and today we're going to discuss one of my personal favorite hidden gems, Golden Sun. Now what makes Golden Sun so different from the rest? Well, that's simple. It's the puzzles, but right before I talk about the puzzles, let me put this out here right now. Spoiler warning, I will be talking about certain parts of Golden Sun's story. If you want to experience it yourself, I suggest you play Golden Sun before listening to this podcast. Otherwise, feel free to continue listening to this episode. When you enter Lmao forest for the first time, you have to do waterlog and regular log puzzles. You need to push them together to form a path. While this does seem easy at first, you have to put a bit of thought into how you position those logs. I personally find them to be my favorite, not for the mind-breaking challenge they bring, but rather for the relaxing simplicity to remind you of the first dungeon of the game, Soul Sanctum, which is just a tutorial dungeon, but it's a great one as it sets the pace for what the game's about. The second part to the Lmao Forest puzzles is the corrupted guardian Trent, who is a holy tree that's important to the story for reasons I won't get into, as I believe you should play the game yourself to find out why he's so important. When you go inside Trent, it's a climb to the top to find various collectibles and dungeons, which I will touch on later, only to roundabout yourself to the lowest level of the tree to face Trent himself, who's became evil all of a sudden, turning people into tree stumps. You have simple mazes and various branching paths to explore to find dungeon, which are similar to personas in, well, Persona, or summons from Final Fantasy. They are the companion monsters that boost your stats, change your class, and give you new synergy, which is the unique magic for this game that can be used to solve puzzles in the overworld, or it can be another tool to help you in combat. When you reach a certain part into the game, you are on the Toby-bound ship, which is going to take you to the town of Toby, which I'll get into later. One of my favorite parts about the Toby-bound ship is the Kraken boss battle and how you have to choose ship passengers to be the new oarsmen, since the old ones are out of commission for some reason, with you and your ragtag team being the only ones who can fight against sea monsters that come in waves and invade the ship every time you choose a new oarsman. That leaves you out of the equation of rowing the ship. Let me just say that the dialogue of choosing the passengers to be the next oarsman is hilarious. They will fight you tooth and nail not to row the boat, and it gives the game even more charm than it already had. There's a little known fact that most people don't know when it comes to the Toby-bound ship is if you choose passengers from strongest to weakest, with the strong being on the left and the weak being on the right side, it can take you to a mysterious island in the game. The Kraken boss is the fourth wave, and let me tell you, he is one hell of a boss to deal with. This unit of a sea monster has 2400 HP, which takes ages to chip down as he heals himself about every other turn. He's able to deal out damage too that can wipe your team if you're not well prepared. He's considered one of the game's difficulty spikes, and I will be completely honest here, it took me 3 to 4 tries to beat that son of a gun. But when you do, you get a nice sum of EXP and you arrive at Toby Port, the gambling city. The OST is one of the parts of why I like Golden Sun, as the battle theme hits you with this vibrant world-saving energy that makes you want to get into as many battles as possible. There's a track in the game called the Caragol Sea, which fills you with this sense of adventure like the Legend of Zelda Wind Waker music does, but on GBA steroids. The Venus Lighthouse music is a great theme that beloved by the Golden Sun fandom, and for a good reason too, as it hits you with the strong sense to climb the lighthouse and then reaches a calming point, only to get back to the high energy pace it's set for when you first entered the lighthouse for the first time. When you're done listening to this podcast, I want you to go on youtube.com or the app and look up Elemental Stars. It's the perfect lore-dropping OST. It makes you feel like you're a part of an ethereal tale, if you will. The music complements any lore-dropping sequence and makes the dialogue have a little more urgency, because when that theme kicks on, you know some serious story developments are about to go down. Writing for this game looks incredible for a GBA game, and the care and attention to detail is impeccable. It gives a certain appeal that makes it stand out from the other JRPGs on the GBA, and the animations for Synergy were always fun and unique to look at. You can tell a lot of effort went into the spriting, which is a good thing for Golden Sun, as it can distract you from the mostly nothing dialogue that has really nothing of value to say other than to echo what was said in the conversation earlier. Finally arrive at Toby, the gambling city. The first minigame you come across is the Lucky Metal Fountain. When you first enter Toby, it's just a normal fountain until you stand right in front of it. To play the minigame, your player character Isaac will have his back facing the fountain, and he will either throw a coin or lucky metal inside the fountain. Lucky metals are a type of item you collect on your journey through randomly finding them in barrels. If you throw a coin, you can get more coins, provided that you can land close to, if not dead center on the bullseye. The max amount of coins you can obtain are 20. The lucky medals are where you're going to get the most bang for your buck, as you can obtain gear and weapons unique to that fountain alone that can't be found anywhere else. But there's something that makes getting those said collectibles more difficult, and that would be the turtles and crabs that obstruct your medal or coins path. And if you hit them 3 times, they have 3 different speeds: slow, medium, and fast. This can affect the outcome of where your medal or coin can land. But as long as you stockpile on lucky medals and save scum, which is saving before performing an otherwise permanent action, you should be fine in getting all the gear possible. Lucky Wheels is a slot machine that uses game tickets, which you can get from buying stuff at shops. Lucky Dice is a simple dice shooting game to where the game automatically bets money for you. It bases the bet on the level of the lowest party members times 10. This happens the moment you throw the dice. The first lighthouse in the game, the Mercury Lighthouse, introduces elemental themed puzzles. The puzzle for the Mercury Lighthouse is moving the water pipes around. The enemies are resistant to water elemental attacks. If you're an adept, someone who can wield synergy, who matches the element of the lighthouse, as there is one for fire, water, wind, and earth, you can get stronger synergy, and your power point/PP gets a small amount restored every turn. When a lighthouse is lit, it can weaken an opposing element of that tower. For example, the first challenging boss, Satiros, is a Mars adept when the tower was lit in Mercury Lighthouse. One of the first few cons of Golden Sun is when you haven't played for a while. And what I mean by that is you drop the game due to the very high encounter rate. With every 5 steps you're being bombarded by a monster, only to try to pick up the game again because you gather some interest in it, but guess what? You don't know what to do. You're lost, and then you try to look at a guide to figure out where you were last time, and only then, once you reach that plot relevant point, you realize, wow, this game's story, or really its text, is so boring. I could go to sleep, make a sandwich, and get back up when I feel like it. But I'm not going to dive into all of that. You should play the game to find out how the text drags. Well, switching up pace of this whole podcast, I'm going to go into a bit of a baby rage mode, if you will, about a certain section of the game, the desert areas. Now, what makes the desert areas so bad isn't just because they're desert areas or that you gotta fight mini bosses every time, although that does add on to it. It's the dumb mechanics, or really the dumb gimmicks that they add for each desert area that you go to. So let me explain them in chronological order so you can get the whole picture. So after Ivan learns this reveal synergy, which pretty much is like X-ray vision, it allows you to look in the pots and find other hidden items, right? You know, cool stuff like that. You go to the desert, you look for hidden oases so you can make sure that that dumb sweat meter doesn't reach the top, which is pretty much like a thermometer for reference for anybody who wants to reference that. But pretty much you got to make sure that sweat meter doesn't reach the top for whatever reason. So after you're done with that, you know, you think, okay, we just got to go in these oases and then just go through the desert. Not too bad. Guess what? You got to fight some mini bosses. And on top of that, you also have encounters. So I hope you stocked up on wings so you'll get an encounter every 10 steps and not every 5 steps. See, there's a difference in it because golden wings don't do nothing. But that's just the first desert. The second desert, the Suhala desert, I have a personal beef with. It made me drop the game for a little bit, if you will. So pretty much after you reach to Suhala Village Desert, but pretty much once you show up to the town, you go into Suhala Desert, and if you haven't been paying attention to the dialogue, I've been guilty of this, you pretty much don't know what to do when the tornado comes up. Now you can use dows on it, you know, rain, and once you do figure it out, you're thinking, okay, great, I know what to do now. I won't get booted out like I did the last time into the overworld because I didn't know what to do. That's fine, that's cool. But now you gotta fight another mini boss. Remember those? We heard you like a lot of mini bosses, so fight them again. So after you're done fighting another mini boss, you're thinking, okay, we're not gonna fight them every time like the last time. Guess what? They're all mandatory. You can't run away from them, and you gotta fight them on top of the normal encounters. The only good part about the desert is there's an infinitely responding boss. There's an infinitely responding boss that can pretty much take you to the mysterious island. It's a second way to go to the mysterious island, but that's just one of the main things I don't like about the desert. With baby mode rage out of the way, let's get back to the overall. The game isn't bad, but if you have enough patience to go through the flaws I explained about today, it's honestly a great game and you should at least play it. If you're not going to complete it and you're going to drop it, at least play the game to a very far point, somewhere around Suhala, if not a little beyond that, because the game is really awesome and you should really play it even if you're not going to complete it. Which brings me into my next point. I haven't completed the game yet, but you guys, the listeners, can change that through 4 ways, and I'll explain each of the 4 ways very soon. But before I tell you the 4 ways, here's how I'll be completing the game. I'll be willing to stream the game on Twitch or even upload a video of me beating it on YouTube. So here's the 4 ways you can get that end section of my overall final opinion of the game. One is if we can reach 10 downloads on Spotify, you get that condition. I'll complete the game. If I can get 30 likes on YouTube when it's re-uploaded there, you also get the game. 50 followers on Instagram or 25 followers on Spotify. Then, and only then, will my true final experience be added for Golden Sun. But don't worry about episodes being uploaded. Those still will be uploaded regardless. Other than that, let's get to the end section now, shall we? Well, thank you for listening to the first episode of Blowin The Cartridge. I've been your host, Theblackautismo, and if you want to see more content like this and want me to branch out to other media such as manga and anime, feel free to follow my YouTube channel, Theblackautismo TBA, capital T on the and all caps on TBA, and I'll say it again. Follow my YouTube channel, Theblackautismo TBA, all caps TBA, capital T on the, and catch my episodes on other platforms such as Spotify and Anchor FM. Also, don't forget to follow my Instagram, Theblackautismo _TBA, the same as my YouTube, and I'll repeat it again. Theblackautismo, capital T on the _ TBA, all caps. Thank you and have yourselves a good one.